You want to play hardball over water rights? Fine. Let's see how your precious lakefront resort holds up when the whole place turns into a muddy parking lot. That's the exact thought running through my head as I stand next to a century-old dam valve, a valve my great-grandfather built in 1924, the same valve that controls every drop flowing into Willowbrook Resort, and, by pure coincidence, in a Karen Whitmore's million-dollar vacation rental empire. Just 3 hours ago, while I was sitting with my daughter Emma through another round of chemo, they bulldozed my great-grandfather's barn, called it an emergency demolition for community safety. What they didn't know is that my family holds the original water easement, the real deed to this land, and Karen, a self-declared queen of the HOA, just made the single biggest mistake of her meticulously manicured life. She thinks she can bully a grieving single dad, a guy who lost his father just 6 months ago. She's about to learn why you don't cross a man who has nothing left to lose and everything left to fight for. The smell hit me first: diesel, sawdust, and heartbreak. I pulled up to my driveway. Emma slumped in the passenger seat, her little head bald and resting against the window, wiped out from chemo. And there it was, a yellow excavator, just sitting on what used to be our barn, surrounded by a graveyard of century-old timber that had stood through every storm since 1924. I felt the hit in my chest, knees nearly buckling. That barn wasn't just wood and nails, it was history. Every summer, Dad and I worked there, him telling me stories about how great-grandpa William built things to last, about how neighbors looked out for one another. And now just splinters and dust. Emma whispered, "Daddy, where's great-grandpa's barn?" I had promised we'd fix it up together when she got better, turn it into her art studio, add some solar panels, create something lasting. But now, just like that, it was gone, scattered memories on our lawn. I could still hear Dad's last words before cancer took him. "Promise me you'll take care of the barn, son." I'd failed him. I'd failed us all in a single afternoon. A big guy in a hard hat came jogging over clipboard, apologetic face. "You Marcus Sullivan? Sorry about the timing, man. Here's your paperwork." He dropped a manila envelope in my hands and backed off. Smart move. I was about ready to explode. I tore it open, Emma watching me with those 2 Ys for 12 eyes. It was an emergency demolition notice, bold red letters, effective immediately for community flood risk. They claimed multiple attempts to contact me, but that was lie number 1. I was home all week, except for the exact hours I was at Emma's treatment. They'd waited for this moment. Emma, already thinking like a detective, started snapping pictures evidence, just like they do on TV. Even sick, my kid was sharper than most adults. Betty Chun came running across the street, silver hair flying, phone in hand. "I took pictures, sweetheart," she said. "Saw Karen with the surveyor last week, measuring everything, talking about maximizing lakefront access for premium guests." I watched neighbors peeking from their porches, some shocked, some shaking their heads, some turning away. Betty showed me photos. Karen Whitmore, our lovely HOA dictator, standing on my property with 2 guys, one with a tablet, one with a measuring wheel. They were pointing at the barn, at the lake, back at the barn. Those photos were from a week ago. The emergency was a setup as fake as Karen's sympathy. I asked Betty to send me the photos and if she could recall what they said about the lake access. I knelt down, hands tracing the old timber, finding the initials WS William Sullivan, 1924, carved into the wood. Emma leaned against me, her head warm on my shoulder, asking why they did this. I didn't know, but I knew I'd find out. I brushed sawdust off my jeans and felt something shift in's idea, purpose waking up alongside the grief. If Karen wanted to fight, she'd found the wrong Sullivan. My family's protected this land for 4 generations. I pulled out my phone, started my own documentation, photos, notices, the excavator's license plate. If Karen wanted a war of paperwork, I was ready. That's when Tank Rodriguez, a Marine vet 3 doors down, showed up. Tank doesn't say much, but when he does, you listen. "That was good timber," he said, examining the wreckage. "Someone paid serious money to have this knocked down. You don't use equipment like that for emergencies." This was a message. Betty squeezed my arm, overheard Karen talking about Phase 2 expansion and needing my property before summer. The barn was just her opening move. I glanced around, some neighbors supportive, others just wanting this drama gone. Emma tugged on my shirt, pointing to something half buried in the rubbly metal lockbox, dented but intact. Inside, yellowed photos of my great-grandfather, blueprints, and most importantly, legal documents. The original water system map, a contract for 1924 granting the Sullivan family perpetual water rights over the entire lake. Karen thought she could run me off with fake notices, but she had no idea what she'd just destroyed or what she'd missed. Later that night, I went down to the basement, smelled like pipe tobacco and old secrets, looking for anything Dad might have left. After hours, I found it. A box with documents, the old map, and a letter from the county commissioner, officially confirming my family's legal control over the water system. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, curious. "So, great-great-grandpa was the boss of the lake?" I nodded. "Does that mean we can tell Karen no?" Her innocence just cut straight to the heart of it. The next night, Karen called an emergency HOA meeting, probably expecting me to show up beaten. I walked in with Emma beside me and the documents under my arm. Karen sat at the front, her board flanking her like corporate bodyguards, neighbors filling the folding chairs, half of them uncomfortable. I stood up, thanked Karen for her creative presentation, and pulled out the documents. William Sullivan built that barn as part of the original water system that created this lake. Care to explain why you demolished a legally protected structure? Karen's smile faltered. Betty stood up and showed the photos of Karen and her surveyor's receipts, as the kids say. That night, Emma helped me set up a Facebook Live with the demolished barn as the backdrop. I introduced myself and told everyone what happened, how Karen orchestrated the demolition, how my great-grandfather's water rights still ran through our family. Neighbors tuned in by the thousands. I read aloud an email Tank had gotten from an investor. Karen needed my property for Phase 2 expansion, scheduled demolition during my daughter's chemo for legal cover. People love an underdog story, especially one with a sick kid and a demolished barn. Comments exploded. Karen's response? A certified letter threatening lawsuits for inciting community unrest. She even filed a formal complaint that I'd modified water infrastructure, which, at that point, I hadn't touched. Yet, by that Thursday, Karen escalated. Security cameras went up on utility poles facing my house. A black SUV sat out front with a goon inside, watching. Every neighbor got a glossy pamphlet. Marcus Sullivan, water terrorist. 8 pages of propaganda. She even dragged Emma's illness into it, hinted that my emotional instability made me dangerous. Emma lost her best friend, her friend's mom, saying, "Your father's behavior is a concern." That's when I knew Karen would do anything, even isolate a sick child, just to win. Then it got worse. I discovered Karen's masterpiece, a 47-page petition for eminent domain to seize my property, calling it vital for public safety, quoting Emma's medical condition as justification. Tank and Betty showed up. Tank had proof Karen was committing tax fraud. Betty had receipts showing she'd bribed the insurance company to delay Emma's transplant approval. Karen showed up at the hospital with flowers, acting the concerned neighbor, offering to guarantee Emma's care if I'd just sell her the property. She was holding my daughter's life hostage, and that's when Emma looked me in the eye and whispered, "She's not helping me, Daddy. She's using me." That night, I walked down to the damn valve, me flashlight beam slicing through the dark, footsteps echoing the ones my great-grandfather took a century ago. The valve, covered in rust, protested every turn, but eventually it gave way. Every turn of that will felt like justice. When I finally locked it down, the whole lake system shut off, no more water for Karen's resort. By morning, the infinity pool was 4 feet low, lawns browning, golf course drying out, koi fish flopping in shrinking mud puddles. Karen called at dawn, screaming, "You psychopath." I told her calmly, "Now you know what it feels like when someone controls what you need." The next day, the county commissioner's meeting was packed. Word had spread, and Jennifer's live stream had thousands watching. I laid out the timeline: Karen's fake demolition notice, financial threats, medical manipulation, environmental violations. Emma played her recorded message. "Mrs. Whitmore is making my daddy choose between saving me and saving our land. The silence afterward was ice cold then chaos. I played audio recordings of Karen pressuring the insurance company. Karen tried to spin it, but she snapped, admitting she'd used Emma's sickness as leverage. The whole thing streamed live evidence for the world. Within days, Karen was finished federal investigations for water violations and tax fraud, stripped of her HOA leadership, her investors gone, her resort up for sale. Linda from the insurance company called to say Emma's transplant was approved and fully covered. Her surgery went perfectly, her red curls growing back in weeks. The county turned the water system into a public trust, and I was elected as the first water trustee, carrying on my great-grandfather's work. The day Emma came home from the hospital, the neighborhood threw a welcome back barbecue. Families, kids, even Tank's Marine buddies came out. 6 months later, the William Sullivan Community Center opened, built on the very site Karen had tried to erase. Emma designed the memorial garden with a bronze plaque. Water belongs to everyone. Communities are built by those who care more about tomorrow than today. Standing there, watching my daughter run and play, I finally understood some things really are worth fighting for. If this story hit home, if you believe in standing up to bullies and fighting for what's right, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and share your thoughts below. What would you have done in my place? What does justice mean when the powerful prey on the vulnerable? Let's hear your story, because this fight is bigger than me, bigger than one lake, bigger than any single community. It's about all of us.